Israel's ground offensive in Gaza failed. Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed that the war will continue until Hamas is destroyed, but the damage so far falls short of expectations. The war has been going on for over 3 months now. How many Hamas fighters have been killed? Depends on whom you ask. You see, Hamas is believed to have up to 30,000 fighters. Now, according to US intelligence agencies, Israeli forces have managed to kill only 20 to 30% of Hamas fighters, which means the death toll is somewhere between 6,000 and 9,000. While 11,000 to 12,000 would have been wounded, many of whom could eventually return to the battlefield. But Israeli Defense Forces claim the figure is higher than that. They say they have killed 1,000 Hamas fighters on October 7th and 9,000 more in Gaza since the war began. As for the injuries, Israel says 16,000 fighters have been wounded and about half of them won't be able to fight again. You see, the numbers don't add up, and the difference points towards one thing. Israel is playing up its advances against Hamas. Now, according to American military standards, any force that loses 25 to 30% of its fighters would be considered ineffective. But this is no ordinary war, and Hamas is no ordinary group. It is fighting a defensive war in an urbanized battlefield. And as of now, there are signs that the militants are on the verge of a strategic defeat. And whatever success Israel has gained against Hamas, it has come at a very high price. The total death toll in Gaza has surpassed 25,000. Israeli authorities are facing global backlash for civilian deaths. The US is also mounting pressure for the same. In fact, the Biden administration has lowered its expectations from the war. It no longer wants to destroy Hamas, but simply to weaken it. That's why the US is urging Israel to scale down the war to more targeted operations, essentially attacking only Hamas leaders, weapons and caches and tunnels. For Hamas, the goals are different. They don't need to win the war, they simply need to survive it. Many of the senior Hamas leaders remain alive. The group's military infrastructure has been hit hard, but it hasn't been wiped out yet. More than 130 Israeli hostages still remain unaccounted for. Hamas still remains the sole governing authority in the Gaza Strip, despite vows from Israel to permanently oust the militants from political power. Israel has repeatedly declared that there is no place for Hamas in post-war Gaza. But has it come up with any concrete alternative plan? The answer is a resounding no. Israel has been destroying or blocking tunnel entrances whenever it can find them, but there are signs that Hamas still maintains enough underground facilities to successfully move around and even surprise the enemy. Hamas's rocket attacks on Israel have declined, but they are far from stopping. Just last week, Hamas fired a barrage of rockets into Israel. Reports say this was from an area of central Gaza where Israeli forces had been operating just a day earlier. In the north, Hamas authorities have returned to Gaza and other parts. This also includes areas previously held by the Israeli military. Officials in the Israeli military have themselves admitted to this. They say Hamas is putting together small groups of police and emergency services to patrol the streets. With that, it is trying to reassert its authority. The message is loud and clear. Hamas will continue to assert itself wherever Israeli boots are not on the ground. The Israeli Defense Forces say they need to keep up the ground offensive for several months, but the clock is ticking. Time is running out. To sum it up, Israel is currently caught in a bind. The more it attacks Palestine, the more civilians it is killing. And it is becoming more and more difficult for its allies to keep up the support. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.